You guys already know this. Wild Rose Firion and his not-so-brother-in-arms Dark Knight Leon entered the game today in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. So we're taking a look at Wild Rose Firion, Dark Knight Leon. Maria and Guy are older units. Not really worth talking about. Still 5-star maxes here. Maria gives the Asuna TMR. Nothing really crazy there. Guy gives Hill Digger, which is an HP plus attack TMR, but still not worth talking about. So Wild Rose Firion, let's go in here. Let's see what he's all about here. His TMR is the Red Sword. The Red Sword, two-handed sword, 135 attack, so lower attack, but it does make up for it with the higher damage range, 130 to 170%, so 1.5 multiplier there on average. That's bow variants. That's two-handed bow, two-handed gun variants there for you guys. It also has the effect of Blood Weapon, which will absorb HP equal to the amount of damage you do. That's going to be a very potent thing for a lot of characters out there. 25%. The 25% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite a bit of HP that when you're doing, millions of damage, that's just going to full heal your characters. It could be like 1% of the damage you deal, and it's still going to full heal your character to full HP there when you're doing that sort of damage. So notable usage for some characters. We did just get Shadow Lord that got buffed. That'd be a very nice weapon to throw on Shadow Lord, although Shadow Lord already does restore 10,000 HP at the start of the turn, or at the end of the turn, excuse me, due to his skill, his cooldown skill that he uses as part of his rotation, the Blood Weapon. So Red Sword, very strong, very powerful. Might not be necessary to go out and Moogle it though for Shadow Lord, especially if you're not doing that much damage to yourself. You're going to heal 10,000 HP per turn with Shadow Lord there. His S-Teamer is the Weapon Specialist. We've seen stuff like this before. 60% attack and 75% killers to birds, humans, and stone-based monsters. Stone, it's a pretty rare enemy type there. There's a couple of them out there. Bird, same thing. Humans is pretty popular though, so 75% Man-Eater for physical attacks and then 60% attack. That's pretty strong. But the bird and stone, not so much. So if you do, wind up getting this, you'll probably find uses for it. You don't need to go out and chase it. It's not super crazy game breaking or anything like that. It's just going to be really nice for those physical damage dealers when these killers do come into effect. That being said, his weapon selection, he is the weapon master, so he can wear pretty much everything in the game. I do believe he has actually everything in the game. He might be missing one. I don't think he's missing any, though. Nothing's really sticking out to me at this time. His armor selection, he can wear light shields, hats, helmets, clothing, and light armor. So no heavy armor and no robes. So he may be the weapons master, but he's not the armor master. All right, so let's get into his kit here. We have Rising Fist, negligible skill here, attack buff that decreases over time. Plundering Lance, he does have a Lance skill, so if you need an HP and MP drain, that's there for you. He can dual cast this skill. Then we get into his weird skill here, Quick Arrow, small multiplier, 0.75. It's a 3-hit skill to one enemy, and then enables triple arms to the caster for 2 turns. If you use it after Accelerated Arrow, it turns into Godspeed Arrow, and it's still 0.75 multiplier, but each of these 3 hits will have ignore 50% defense on it, and it still enables triple arms for him as well. So we'll go back to this skill. Eventually, it is going to get multiplier increases, and that's going to increase the multiplier by a little bit. If you can increase the multiplier to Quick Arrow, it's going to, six-tuplely cast, get in there on that multiplier increase. Accelerated Arrow here, 5.5 mod, which increases the multiplier of Godspeed Arrow, as you can see, by 0.25. So it brings these all up to 1.0s, ignore 50% defense. So that's going to be a total of a 6.0 multiplier with that small little 0.5. And we're going to Shield Blow, his next skill here. Stop, defense decrease of 50%, that goes to 60%, that goes to 70% for 2 turns. So if you want a 70% defense decrease, you can use this, and then 2 turns later, you'll have a 70% 2-turn defense decrease. Nothing super crazy, but it is part of his kit. Maybe you need a temporary defense break over time. Maybe you break with a Sylvie or something, and then later on you can have Shield Blow come in and defense break by another 70%. After 2 turns there for 1 turn. Spinning Axe, Divine Ruination, Chaining Frames, AoE, gives him 300% High Tide for 1 turn, nothing super crazy. Then he has Aqua Wand and Arrow Knife. This is his way to decrease water and wind resistance by 100%, depending on which one you use, and then also add Water Imbue or Wind Imbue. These are Stardust Ray Chains, and they are single target, and it's 5-turn Imperil for both of them, and 5-turn Imbue, so that's going to be your Imbues and Imperils there. He also has the same thing with Shining Blade. This one is Holy Element, or Light Element, however you prefer. Same thing, same modifier, still Stardust Ray, 100% Imperil, 5-turn, and then 5-turn imbue to light there. And then he's got Surpassing, Nature, Controlling Civilization, and Defeating Legends. These are all Stardust Ray, low multipliers, and these each give them a 25% buff to certain killers. One of them is avians, bugs, and plants. One of them is humans, machinas, and stone monsters. The other one is beasts, demons, and dragons. So a little bit of a buff there. Nothing super crazy, considering he already has a lot of killers in his kit. So if you want a little bit of extra damage on a burst turn, you can go ahead and use this in preparation for that burst damage. And then he's got Finn's Blossom here, Stardust Ray, 1.0 mod on the first 9 hits, 4.8 mod on that final hit there with the backloaded part. This is going to benefit from multiplier increases as well, and the multiplier increases do benefit on both parts of this skill there. He does have dual cast, so as you can see, most of these skills are highlighted. That's because he can dual cast them. That's going to be his 6-star kit. Moving into his 7-star kit, his first skill is the Pride of the Resistance. This is going to be 6-turn cooldown available on turn 1, 200% attack buff for 4 turns, can't be dispelled, and it's going to give him a 50% killer buff to birds, humans, and stone-based monsters for 4 turns, and it's going to unlock triple arms, which you've guessed it is triple cast for 3 turns. Then his next skill here, the Bloody Rose, 3-turn cooldown, only available on turn 3. It's going to be Stardust Ray, the first 9 hits, 1.5 multiplier. That final hit is a 7.2 multiplier, and it's going to give an increased multiplier to Finn's Blossom by 1.0 for 3 turns to the caster there. And then Saber of Adversity, 7-turn cooldown available on turn 7. Increases physical damage against avens, humans, and stone monsters by another 75% for 3 turns to the caster. Stardust Ray here, 9 hits, is a 2.0 multiplier. That final hit is a 10.8 multiplier, and this is another way to unlock triple arms. So that's going to be his base skills there. Moving into his passives, we are going to try to go through these as quick as possible. He's immune to poison and petrify. He gets 150% attack buff when his HP drops below 61%. Powerful Vitality, Spirit HP, 30% increase there. Autocast Regen Champion at the start of the battle or after being revived, and he gets 10% MP refresh. He gets a Magic and Spirit 30% buff when he's equipped with a staff, a rod, an instrument, or a mace. He gets 30% Spirit and 25% attack if he has a bow, a whip, a throwing weapon, or a gun equipped. He gets attack and defense 20% when equipped with a dagger, a sword, a greatsword, or a katana. 30% attack when equipped with an axe, a hammer, a spear, or a fist. 30% attack when equipped with a sword, greatsword, or an axe. And then 50% attack when equipped with a bow. 30% attack when equipped with a gun. He also has Forest Killer, which gives him 75% killers versus avians, insects, and plant-based monsters. And then he's got Civilization Destroyer, 75% killer against humans, machinas, and stone-based monsters. Rebellion's Blade increases his attack and defense by 20% when equipped with the sword. Increases his human killer by 25% in addition to that when equipped with a sword. Sky Piercing Arrow, 30% attack and 30% spirit when equipped with a bow. And then another 25% bird killer when equipped with a bow. If you have an axe on him, he's going to get 30% HP and 30% attack, and then 25% physical killer against stone-based monsters as well. Legend Killer gives him another 75% beast, 75% demon, and 75% dragon killer. Two-handed weapon gives him 2 limit burst gauge crystals per turn and 100% true double hand attack. Weapons Rebel gives him 30% attack, 20% HP, and a chance to counter physical and magical attacks with Weapons Rebel of a 30% proc rate. His Trust ability here, if you have his TMR or Super TMR on, gives him 30% attack, spirit, and MP, and 50% true double hand, and increases his limit burst damage by 30%. Unleashed Power, autocast Unleashed Power at the start of battle. He has a Spirit plus 20% passive, and then Everlasting Justice is attack plus 20%. It increases the modifier of Bloody Rose, Finn's Blossom, and Saber of Adversity by 1.0. So let's go over his conditional skills here. Triple Arms is triple cast. Weapons Rebel enables triple arms for 1 turn, so he starts with that if he does get his counter attack off. His regen is 1800 with a 1.0 modifier heal, so nothing too crazy. On Unleashed Power, as we've seen it before with all the CG protagonist characters, he starts with his full limit burst gauge unlocked. His latent abilities that he is going to get at some point with the EP system here is Lord of Arms. Lord of Arms maxed out is a 3-turn cooldown available on turn 3. It's going to be Stardust Ray. The first 9 hits is going to be a 1.5 mod. That final last hit is a 7.2 mod. It's going to give him 16 limit burst gauge crystals and unlocks triple arms. So yet another way for him to unlock his triple cast. Core of Finn's Liberation here. If you max this out, attack, HP, and MP plus 30%. Accelerated Arrow and Quick Arrow get a 0.5 multiplier increase. And then Finn's Blossom and Godspeed Arrow get a 1.0 multiplier increase here. And then Triple Arms here does look like it's going to be conditional, activated by Lord of Arms 1, or Lord of Arms 2 is also going to be triple cast. His Limit Burst here is actually very powerful. If you max it out, it's going to be needed to be leveled up to level 40 to max out, but it's going to give him Bird, Human, and Stone Killer for 50% for 4 turns, and this is going to be a 34.5 multiplier in Limit Burst damage, and unlock, you've guessed it, Triple Arms for another 3 turns. Remember, he does have 30% Limit Burst damage, so this is going to be pretty hefty there. The multiplier is very nice at 34.5. He does very well with Limit Burst damage, and that's going to be for CG Firion. So let's still go over his multipliers. How high do they go? Remember, 1.0 from Finn's Blossom here, and then 0.5 to the Accelerated Arrow and Quick Arrow, and then Godspeed Arrow gets a 1.0 multiplier there. So really, you're going to be using his Limit Burst, and you're going to be keeping his Imbues and Imperils up, right, if you need to do that with him, unless you have someone else do that for him. He is not a true dual wield character. He's a true double hand character, which is going to help out his Limit Burst damage with that average multiplier. The weapon variants helping you out with that Limit Burst damage as well there. So Finn's Blossom, Godspeed Arrow, Accelerate Arrow, and Quick Arrow are going to be the other skills that you're going to be using for damage there. So let's go look at Godspeed Arrow, Quick Arrow, and Accelerate Arrow and see if they're worth using at all in comparison to some of his other stuff. So Godspeed Arrow, I actually don't see it anywhere. Oh, here it is. Godspeed Arrow will get a 1.0 multiplier increase, period, I do believe, with his skill. I don't think anything else actually buffs up Godspeed Arrow in his kit. Only this EP skill will at the end of the day. So a 1.0 multiplier increase, how strong is that on this skill down here with Godspeed Arrow? So a 1.0 multiplier increase, and you have this one here, Accelerated Arrow, for 2 turns with Godspeed Arrow plus 1.25. So that'll be a 2.0 ignore 50, a 2.0 ignore 50, and a 2.0 ignore 50. So 4, 8, 12. It'll be a 12 times multiplier there. You can buff this up all the way to a 12.0 multiplier. Nothing super insane. It's true. Nothing all that crazy. We have characters out here doing 20-something times multipliers, and those characters are going to be showing up CG Firion for the most part. CG Firion does have a bunch of killers in his kit, and that's where he's going to shine, but his multipliers are relatively low, which means that his extra killers that he'll have over other characters really won't make him superly damaging in comparison, because those characters have higher multipliers with less amounts of total killers, but those killers are going to affect their damage more because the multiplier base is higher for them, whereas CG Firion is going to have lower multipliers with more killers. Now we do have Finn's Arrow getting a lot of buffs here as well, and those do they are affected by buffs in quite a positive manner. So we have Finn's Finn's Blossom, excuse me, 1.0 multiplier here, and then we have Finn's Blossom in a 1.0 multiplier here from his Everlasting Justice, and then Finn's Blossom I think gets another 1.0 multiplier here as well. So 3.0 for Finn's Blossom. You can get that up to relatively easily, and so it'll be a 4.0 multiplier followed by a 7.8 multiplier. So in total it's going to be like an 11.8 multiplier as well. So nothing super insane. We're always looking around like a 12.0 multiplier for his non-limit burst damage. He is very flexible in the amount of killers he can get for all the different characters, but his multipliers on his non-limit burst damage are really, really low, and the damage you're looking for to do on him is from his Weapons Master. So if you're looking for like a Weapons Master, Chain Finisher, limit burst damage bursty character, this is where you're going to be. If characters like Regina and stuff entice you, he's gonna be pretty powerful there. He's not gonna be like super crazy insane. The effect that his killers do help him a lot though on his Weapons Master. That's where you're gonna see a lot of damage, especially if you're coming after someone who he can hit max cap killers on while having a lot of limit burst damage gear. If you can do that, he's gonna hit really, really hard with his 34.5 multiplier. He only has 30% limit burst damage, so you're going to be looking at using stuff like Heart Overcoming Hatred, the Lion's Heart, maybe Esther TMR to make him hit higher numbers with a plentiful and bountiful amount of killers that he has in his kit there. So put your highest weapon attack plus variants. He can use strong bows. He can use his red sword. His red sword, you're going to probably want on him if you don't have a super TMR, because it does give him access to 50% true double hand, 30% limit burst damage, and 30% attack, spirit, and MP. This 30% limit burst damage is pretty powerful. His weapon isn't terrible. It does have good variance on it, but the low attack on it is going to affect the new formula in a negative manner, because you want to have as close to 180 attack as possible. If you do manage to get your hands on a super TMR, though, you can use whatever weapon you want, and you're going to like that, because the blood weapon effect on the red sword doesn't really matter too much with Wild Rose Firion. He just kind of sits around, pops his limit burst off, sits around, pops his limit burst off again, while generating limit burst crystals, maybe putting up a couple extra killers, and you know, doing 100% wind or water imperil while imbuing himself. So that's Wild Rose Firion. Pretty powerful, but I don't expect a lot of people to go off the rocker if you're in pull for him. If you're a fan of Firion, though, you want to use Firion FF2 as your jam, you can probably get out there, make some friends with Wild Rose Firion, and then have them come in and fire that really nice looking CG limit burst off. It only costs 32 crystals. It is 13 hit skill as well, and then it unlocks triple cast, so you can get that limit burst back up. So that's gonna be Wild Rose Firion. The next one we're gonna be going over is Dark Knight Leon. Dark Knight Leon, actually pretty cool, actually pretty powerful. His TMR here is the Defender, 135 attack, one-handed sword with the Shielding Blade passive. The Shielding Blade is going to give you 20% defense and 10 physical dodge. So if you need a physical dodge weapon, you haven't been able to get your hands on any, you can get a 10% dodge sword here with the Defender from Dark Knight Leon. Not to be confused with the Defender that I think was a time-limited event item in the game a while ago. It might still be, it might not be time limited. I think it was like 5% dodge sword. This one is a 10% dodge sword with 20% defense. STMR here is Dark Knight's Authority. Gives you 50% attack when equipped with a sword and 50% attack when equipped with heavy armor. So 100% attack is a lot. It is very restrictive, though. You have to have heavy armor and you have to have a sword. So I'm not really the biggest fan of this one. If you're out there using just a sword and just using heavy armor, then, you know, good to go for you. A lot of the better body pieces, though, to wear for physical damage dealers aren't really heavy armor, right? They're usually like clothes or light armor for the most part there. But if you have like a heavy armor and it's your best thing that you have access to, then go for it. There are some nice ones out there that are heavy armors, like the Veritas Super TMRs. Dark Lord and Flame Lord have a substantial amount of attack. They're not the highest, though. They're just the highest of the heavy armors for the most part. Light Lord's like 30, but nothing super insane there. So keep that in mind. I'm not the biggest fan of that TMR, or Super TMR. I mean, the TMR is all right. His weapon selection's got bows, axes, spears, great swords, and daggers. Armor selection's got everything but robes. Let's get into his kit here. As you can see, he does have dual cast. He's got a Dispel with Vanishing Blade. He's got a Garbage skill with Phantom 2. Betrayal Blade is a HP drain with a 50% defense and spirit break. He's got Depravity Blade, which is an MP drain with attack and magic debuff of 50%. He's got Dark Prison, which is 100% dark apparel and does dark damage over time skill. Oh boy. Dark Flow is a Dark Imbue with an AT Mirror of Equity skill. Dark Corruption is a 120% dark apparel, backloaded 12 times multiplier, 1 point multiplier the first 7 hits, 12 times in the last one, 120% dark apparel, and is also AT skill, dual dark technique, as you can see here. Black Executioner going into a 7-star kit. His 6-star kit is pretty much just Dark Corruption after you Dark Imbue with Dark Flow. But his 7-star kit here, 8-turn cooldown available on turn 1. Attack, defense, magic, and spirit break of 70% for 3 turns to 1 enemy. So he can, you know, not really be your breaker, but he can do a 1-time strong break on a single enemy. It also is 120% dark apparel for 1 turn to 1 enemy. It also enables triple dark technique, so triple cast for 3 turns to the caster. Restores 100 MP a turn for him and gives him a 250% attack buff for 3 turns. So this is a very strong start the fight with this skill. Get a break off, do the dark apparel. Unlock triple cast, get a very strong attack buff. Dark Knight Charge here, Absolute Mirror of Equity, is a 0.5 multiplier with ignore 50% defense to 1 enemy, 4.5 multiplier, ignore 50% defense as well. So straight away, it's going to be a 10.0 multiplier overall, and it also is going to give a 3.0 multiplier increase to Dark Corruption for 2 turns to the caster. We've seen kind of a similar thing with Riku, where he uses a skill that buffs another skill, and you use that other skill, Dark Corruption. Because remember, guys, this is a 2-part skill here, so this 3.0 multiplier is going to apply to both the 1.0 as well as the 12.0. now, which is actually going to be a 6.0 multiplier increase. So it's going to jump it up from a 13 to a 19 with just this one skill there. He also has Dark Servant Blades, 6-turn cooldown available on turn 6. Very strong, decreases dark resist by 120% for 3 turns, gives you a 250% attack buff for a single turn, is absolute mirror of equity. The first 7 hits is a 5.0 multiplier. That final hit is a 35 times multiplier, so a 40 multiplier hit skill that you can do here. Very strong skill. Cooldown skill, can't use it until turn 6, but it's a strong way to end a fight if you would want to end a fight in that way. 80 multiplier overall if you're using this dual wield. And lucky for you, you're going to find out that he is a true dual wielder. So he has got dual wield, he's got MP refresh over time, he's got sleep and disease resistance 100%, attack and HP plus 20%, 100% high tide, attack plus 30%, and defense plus 20% when equipped with a sword, attack plus 30% when equipped with an axe, a greatsword, or a spear, 30% defense, 30% light resistance. He does have true dual wield mastery, so he gets the 6.0 cap, which is going to be very powerful. Auto cast Heir to the Emperor at the start of battle or being revived. He gets 50% true dual wield attack there. Hypnotism makes him immune to it makes him immune to confuse and charm. 20% spirit and MP. His trust master ability, which you're going to want, is going to be attack, defense, and HP plus 40%, and then 50% more true dual wield attack. 20% attack here. And then beyond, or gazing beyond darkness, 30% attack, 0.5 multiplier increase to Dark Knight Charge, 1.0 multiplier increase to Dark Corruption and Dark Flow. Remember, Dark Knight Charge is this skill here, so the 0.5 is pretty powerful. It's going to double dip, quadruply dip in here, so it's going to be a 1.0 ignore 50% and a 5.0 ignore 50%. So it's going to bring this up to a 12.0 multiplier. And then Dark Corruption is going to get another 1.0 mod, so that's going to be very strong. So it's going to be 4.0 modifier increase total, and it's going to double dip in here, so an 8.0 multiplier increase can bring this up to a 21 times multiplier, which is where we're seeing a lot of our true dual wield units actually land right now, right around a 21 times multiplier. So that is pretty strong there as well. I think Riku's at 22. Leon will be at like 21. Riku's got 120% Dark Imperil. So does Leon. So pretty much the same thing. You know, true dual wield units doing 120% Dark Imperil, spamming 21, 22 times multipliers. So very strong there. Now, Heir to the Emperor gives him 110% attack buff. So he's always going to have minimum 110%. Triple Dark Technique is triple cast. So that's pretty powerful there. He does have EP skills as well. So Spread of Darkness is going to be a skill right here. 36 MP, 8-hit skill. It's going to be Absolute Mirror of Equity Chaining Frames. It's going to be a 0.5 multiplier with a 50% attack buff for 3 turns to the caster. But if you level it up all the way, it's going to be a 1.5 multiplier, 150% attack buff to the caster. It's going to imbue you with Dark, so this is going to be a way for you to imbue yourself. And this is going to add a 0.5 multiplier to Dark Corruption. The next turn is going to be a 1.0 multiplier to Dark Corruption, and then 2 turns after that, it's going to be a 2.0 multiplier to Dark Corruption. So this will be a very strong way for you to add Dark Element to your attack when you start the fight. So you'll add a Dark Element, you know, unlock your triple cast with your triple cast skill. The triple cast skill also does the Dark Imperil for you, and then you can go on ahead and use Dark Knight's Charge to get the other multiplier buff for Dark Corruption. Then you're going to start getting a 1.0 multiplier increase. Then you get another 2.0 multiplier increase. And so you're going to have 2 from the EP skill plus 3 here. So that's going to be 5. And then your passive is another one. So it's going to be 6.0 multiplier increase. That's going to apply to both parts here. So it's a 12.0 multiplier increase, which brings this up to a 25 times multiplier on the 3rd turn there. So anywhere from like a 21 to a 25 multipliers where you're seeing this in the first couple of turns there. So that's pretty powerful. He's going to, you know, average right around the multipliers that Riku is doing right now with the 22 multiplier. So 21 to 26 instead of Riku's flat 22. Preemptive Dark Technique here, something else you're going to want to have. This also adds a multiplier passively to Dark Corruption. So that's going to double down from a 1.0, like we just got done saying, 26, 27, 28 times multiplier to Dark Corruption. And it also will auto-cast Preemptive Dark Technique at the start of the battle. Preemptive Dark Technique enables triple cast for 1 turn. So he starts the fight with triple cast, very strong in there. And his limit burst here is Darkness Override, maxed out. It's going to be a 250% attack buff for 4 turns to the caster. It's going to be a 17.25 multiplier with ignore 50% defense, so a 34.5 multiplier. 6-hit skill, and it's going to also do Dark Imperil by 120%. So the one downside of Dark Knight Leon, if you missed it he only has a couple of ways to unlock triple cast for himself. He's got his 8-turn cooldown skill for triple cast, and he starts the fight with triple cast. So you'll start the fight with triple cast, you'll use Black Executioner, you'll use the other skill down here to unlock his Dark Imperil, so you'll Dark Imbue yourself. So you imbue yourself with this, use the cooldown skill, imbue yourself with this, and then cast Dark Knight's Charge. And then after that, you're going to be able to triple cast Dark Corruption a bunch. It's going to have stacking multiplier increases. You'll be able to do that turn 2, 3, and 4. After that, turn 5, you're down to just dual casting with dual wield. You can dual cast Dark Technique with the dual cast here. Since you're dual wielding though, you can just use this for a turn, and then on turn 6, you get to go ahead. Make sure that your imbue's up, while you're dual casting. Maybe one turn you'll imbue yourself and cast Dark Corruption again, or so on and so forth. And then Dark Servant's Blade on turn 6, you'll be able to use this and do this skill with just dual wielding, no dual cast. Get in there for a 40 times multiplier, dual wielded. So a total of a 80 times multiplier there. But that is his weakness. He does not have permanent triple cast. He has it for a while, and he does do a lot of damage. And then he doesn't do really anything for a turn. And then he does Dark Servant's Blade. And then you have another turn where he doesn't really do anything. And then you get back into it once you get to cast Black Executioner again. You might be able to weave in one of your limit bursts in there for some damage, because it is a nice 34.5 multiplier, but nothing super insane there. But he does have very nice damage. If you are looking for a damage dealer, this could be, a true dual wield damage dealer. 100% base true dual wield. You need a little bit more, get you halfway to the cap. So Dark Knight Leon is pretty powerful. If you missed Riku, or you didn't like Riku spread, or you weren't a Kingdom Hearts fan, but Riku just getting in there and spamming 120% Dark Imperil, dark damage is something that you were a fan of, then Dark Knight Leon is actually going to be pretty good for you. I actually think Dark Knight Leon might be better than Wild Rose Firion, just because, 21 multiplier, 24 multiplier, 26 multiplier of damage. That's a lot of damage, and then you kind of like take a turn off, and then you do a bunch of damage with the cooldown skill. So how good that is going to be determined by how good your gear is. If you have him like geared to the teeth, 200% true dual wield, all this other fancy stuff, you might be able to end the fight before he actually gets really weak, or you can just take a couple turns off before the fight gets to the hard part, right? The 40% thresholds, all that fun stuff. You just kind of like mess around, get his triple cast back up, and then push back down through the fights there. So he might not have consistent damage, but he does do really good damage. And how you use him, you have to be a little bit more thoughtful with how you use him. You can't just smash the same buttons every single turn and expect him to just do damage 100% to 0. You might 100% to 45% HP somebody, and then save up, get that big burst, 120% Dark Imperil, 26 times multiplier to finish the boss off in that way. But otherwise, a very strong character, in my opinion. Damage per turn isn't always everything. Burst damage and how much damage you can do is very powerful. He can put those numbers up, he just can't put them up for ever. He does have high uptime, right? 4 turns out of every 8 turns, so 50% uptime, pretty decent. But his cooldown skill with that 40 times multiplier does help him catch up with that. So Dark Knight Leon, pretty good character. I wouldn't go like crazy after him. He's not going to be like making a new meta or anything like that. But he's not bad. He's not terrible. He's more than usable. He's a pretty strong character. Wild Rose Firion, same kind of thing. He's all about his limit burst. Doesn't really do a bunch of damage outside of that. So I don't expect anyone to go super crazy and pull on this banner. I wouldn't suggest that you pull on this banner unless you're a Final Fantasy II fan. There are several more powerful damage dealers if you're looking for damage dealers to come out down the line. Also, Halloween is around here. Big spooks out there. Happy October to everyone. I expect us to get more Halloween units this year, plus the reruns of the old ones and global upgrades to the old ones as well. I don't know if they'll get EP system points or if they'll just get ability awakenings. I expect Lilith and whatever his face is, I always forget his name, Lucius, obviously, to get ability awakenings, because they didn't last year. We'll have to see what else is in store for the other characters. So if you like this stuff, guys, you found it informative, let me know down in the comment section below. Hit that subscription button so you can stay informed with everything FFBE and more related. Turn the notification bell on if you do want notifications of when I do upload this content 6 times a week minimum. Until then, guys, though, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys, and maybe I'll even catch you on stream today. Links in the description down below. Have fun, guys.